I met him. His name was Yehuda Avner. He passed away a year or two ago. He was ambassador of Israel to England, I believe, or other countries. He was an English Jew, a British Jew, who moved to Eretz Yisrael in the 1940s. He was also a consultant, a yoyetz, an advisor, and a speechwriter for 4 or 5 Israeli prime ministers. He wrote a book called The Prime Ministers. Yehuda Avner. So I once heard a story from him that Avart. He was a British Jew. He was very close to to Prime Minister Eshkol and Golda Meir and Yitzhak Rabin and Menachem Begin. So I heard from him that he was once by the Lubavitcher Rebbe on a mission from Menachem Begin to report progress about his Camp David talks with President Jimmy Carter in the 1970s. Menachem Begin and the Lubavitcher Rebbe shared a similar worldview when it came to dealing with the Arab states. But then Begin took a different approach, probably due to tremendous, crazy, insane pressure from the White House. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe felt he's making a colossal military and political error, although they remained very respectful of each other. And then Begin, unfortunately, went into a depression in 82 or 83, and he had to resign or whatever. I don't remember exactly what happened then, but his tenure was over. But he was a very, very respectful man, a great man. And he sent Avner to try to convince the Lubavitcher Rebbe to change his policy when it came to Israel and the territories and Camp David. The Lubavitcher Rebbe felt that any territorial compromise, even the smallest, will be a colossal disaster for Israel, because it will only demonstrate weakness, and it will only embolden more terrorism, and it will just never end. And Israel is making the greatest mistake, even for the Arabs. He said it's worse for the Arabs also, because they themselves will remain stuck in a quagmire of bloodshed and paralysis and intoxication, etc. So when Begin withdrew from Sinai, it was very difficult. The Rebbe was very hurt by it, and so Avner came to speak, because Begin himself came here to New York, and then Avner came. So Avner said he was a few hours by the Rebbe, and he said at the end he came to convince the Rebbe that Begin was right. He said at the end he got afraid. He told the Rebbe, if I don't leave here, I'm going to have to resign from my position, because I'm starting to agree with you. So I have to leave very fast. Okay. So, but it was a very intimate, it was a nice shmur. So he says, I heard from him that he asked the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he said, I'm just wondering how you define your role in the Jewish world today. How do you see yourself? So he says the Rebbe told him, the Rebbe opened his drawer and he took out a candle. I think it was a yahrzeit candle or something. And he asked him, what do you see here? So he said, I don't know which language they spoke, in Hebrew or English or Yiddish, but he said it over in English. He says, this is a candle. So he said, how do you define it? So he said, well, it's a candle, it's wax, and there's a wick. So there could be a fire. So the Rebbe told him, but this is only a potential, and it could remain its whole life and never be lit. So every single Jew is this. Every single Jew has a wick, and every Jew is a candle. Ner Hashem nishmas adam. The way I see my mission is to help every person light their candle, so that their full light should brighten up themselves and the world around them. That's how I see my mission. That was it. That's what he said. Okay. Avner said he left the room. He finished after some time, and as he was walking out, he said, Lubavitcher Rebbe, by the way, have you fulfilled your mission with me? Am I considered a success story or a failure? Because they were not agreeing. He said, have you fulfilled my mission with me? Did you light my candle? So the Rebbe said, no, I did not, but I gave you a match. Das is das. Okay, have a wonderful day and a good Shabbos. And a happy Chanukah to everybody.